Welcome to Sold with Webinars, a podcast that aims to uncover how the most successful experts, coaches, consultants, and e-course professionals sell their products and services with just one sales presentation or webinar. A simple sales webinar can transform the business and life of a solopreneur. And this podcast will show you how other experts just like you are generating 6 and 7 figures per year online with their webinars. So let's get started. Hey there, Joel Irway here, and thanks so much for tuning in today. I'm really excited about having today's guest on the show, AJ Rivera. Now, AJ is in the fitness space, in the fitness professional space, where he coaches other fitness professionals on how to build profitable fitness businesses. And so I reached out to him because AJ is absolutely crushing it with webinars right now. And so in our interview today, we learn about how he is using a unique strategy to use webinars and live streams to market his products and services. And he also shares a really cool strategy for how he's getting a 30 times return on his ad spend for his webinar marketing efforts. And so I want you to really focus in and listen to his unique strategy for what he's using webinars for, because you're going to learn a lot of great information and great tips that he's doing that not a whole lot of other people are doing with webinar marketing. So without further ado, let's get right into today's show. AJ, welcome, man. Welcome to the show.
Dude, Joel, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm super pumped up to be here.
Cool. So for anyone who doesn't know AJ, why don't you give us a little bit of a brief introduction about yourself? Give us some background.
Totally. So I'll do the really short version because I want this to be more about the webinar. But I grew up in Chicagoland. I always wanted to be in business. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I kind of found myself needing a part-time job in college right out of high school. And so I decided to become a personal trainer just as a part-time job. And then, it started to, grow. I had more and more clients coming in. And before I knew it, I had my own, business there. And I was like, all right, well, I better, kind of go all in with this. Through a few years, I opened 2 studios. I kind of made all the mistakes basically every business owner makes. I had a huge ego. I think I still do, but I'm working on it now at least, and I'm aware of it. But I had a huge ego, and I didn't want to ask for help. So I just made every single mistake, and then I still asked for help anyway and learned from people smarter than me. And through working with different mentors and coaches, I was able to finally get my business successful to the point where each studio was making like $20,000 to $30,000 per month. The years before I sold my gyms, which was in 2015, they were doing about $500,000. And that's total and gross. So it was pretty cool. And then so in February of 2016, I decided, I wanted to start helping. Like, it was the business side that always excited me about personal training. And so I was like, I want to start giving back and helping other people the way my mentors helped me, the way I've been able to see like my managers. And like, there was a girl who we brought her into the gym, and she had never been a personal trainer. And by the end of it, she ended up buying a studio. So like, I love seeing that growth in people, like the potential that like we kind of have hidden within ourselves. So I started coaching other people, and I was like super like honest about it. When I started, I was like, listen, this is what I've learned from like working with other people. It worked for me. I don't know if it's going to work for you. We'll see. And it just really worked for other people too. And so a couple months later, I kind of went all in with this coaching stuff and sold my gyms in April of last year to the managers who wanted to own gyms anyway. So instead of opening location 3 and 4, I just sold them 1 and 2. And I've just been helping people with their fitness businesses ever since, and loving it. It's pretty awesome.
That's amazing, man. I love hearing those types of stories. And when we were talking before the podcast, we were talking about the types of programs that you're selling now. And so I want to shift now and talk about how you're helping your current clients and how you're now coaching other fitness professionals and how you're using webinars to bring those people in. So talk about your program first, talk about what you offer them, and then we'll get into the webinar. side?
Totally. So our core program is an 8-week coaching program with me and my team. So we actually have a team of 3 coaches. We have a bunch of coaches, but 3 main coaches and a few tech people and support people, mindset coaches, things like that. And we take them through the 3 biggest things that I believe are not taught in any sort of personal training certification. To my knowledge, maybe they've updated it and there's nothing wrong with training certs, but training certs are designed to teach you how to do curls correctly and lose body fat, not how to run a fitness business. So we take them through sales, which is a lot of times the biggest struggle with trainers in my experience. Personal trainers love to train people. They don't love to sell people things. So it's like a huge mental block too. Sometimes they feel guilty asking for money. If they don't ask for money, one of the big things we tell them all when they start is like, if you go out of business, you can help 0 people. And that's just the truth. So we have to get their mindset okay about selling. We teach them marketing. So we'll teach them basic lead generation using Facebook advertisement. We show them organic referral methods that work really well also. And then with some of my private clients, we actually do teach them webinars as well.
Nice.
So I would be excited to talk to you more about that because I'm always wanting to learn from the masters like you. And then the last thing we teach them is the systems that they need to scale their business and scale out of it. Before I had sold my businesses, I essentially scaled myself out of it to the point where it was running itself. The only thing I did was I was running my own ads, which had I known there were so many ads managers in the world, I would have outsourced that and I would have literally just existed. So that's kind of the last thing we teach people, how to scale themselves out of the business, not so that they can be lazy and sit on the beach, but more so that they can take a holiday or, hey, my mom's sick, I want to go visit her for a month. Things like that, a lot of the trainers and business owners in general are like, I love my job. I don't want to leave. I'm like, that's great, but what if you have to, right?
Yeah.
What if something comes up? So those are the big things we teach them in our 8-week. And then, our private clients, we teach them more advanced things like webinars, going online, all that fun stuff.
Cool. How much is your program?
Yeah, our 8-week right now is normally $8,000. Sometimes we'll give people a fast action bonus, but that's going to go up in March because we're revamping the program to answer any possible question you could have for any specific scenario, right? So we gave people the actionable stuff that they need, but sometimes people have specific questions and, they get coaching calls, so we can sort it. But what I want to do is create literally a resource that any question in fitness you could ever have for your specific situation will be answered. It's just kind of like a flow chart that makes sense. So it'll be going up in March. I don't know how much it'll go up. My guess would be it would go up by $2,000 minimum. But we sell it for about $8,000 right now. Yeah.
Nice. So you're using webinars for the most part to attract new coaching clients. So tell us about what does the system look like to get new clients in using your webinars? You're using automated webinars right now currently, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So we use a lot of different methods. We use live webinars, automated webinars, actual live stream webinars, and we use a video sales letter as well. And we actually started with the video sales letter, but started shifting more to the webinar because you get more leads in for cheaper, and it qualifies them a little bit more, right? If somebody's going to spend 40 minutes to an hour with you, to 2 hours, depending on how long you do your webinar, they're going to really they're really invested in what you're doing. Our close rates are higher on people who attend webinars versus people who go to VSL, even if our booking is really high. So it doesn't matter if we have a lot of appointments if they're not closing. So yeah, we run a webinar that kind of takes them inside a $22,000 per month fitness business. And it's actually not mine, it's one of my clients. And we kind of show them the 3 steps or secrets, if you're into Russell Brunson stuff, the 3 secrets of what they need. But there really are 3 things that they need to know. And that way they leave with some actionable advice of at least what not to do. At the end, we offer the invitation for them to jump on a coaching call with us. But pending that they're the right fit for it. So that's sort of what that process looks like. I don't know how much if that's enough detail for the webinar, or if you really wanted me to get into it. But that's what it looks like for right now.
Cool. So you said you do a combination of live and automated webinars. How long is your typical webinar? How long does that normally go for?
Yeah, it's usually like an hour, I would say. So we planned it. I originally planned it, and I would love your counsel on this. We originally planned it on 45 minutes because I have a super short attention span. And so I'm like, okay, if I go on a webinar and like it's taken like an hour and a half, I don't know if I would stay on that webinar. And my thought process was, I am my ideal client, kind of, right? I used to be a struggling gym owner with not that much time who isn't very patient. So I tried to make it 45 minutes, but I found that as I actually kind of went through the perfect webinar system and tried to make it something of value that covered all the points, it typically went about an hour to even like an hour and 15 sometimes. Because we answer people's questions and stuff too. Like I actually interact with them when they're live. So yeah.
Yeah. What I found is it's, as educators are like some of the most difficult people to actually sell, because we want to teach so much. Like we want to try and cram all of our knowledge into a 45-minute to an hour-long presentation. I've found that an hour to an hour and a half is like the sweet spot.
Okay.
With my auto webinars that I've done for coaching style. So just to clarify, anybody, if you're listening right now and you're questioning if he's selling directly on the webinar, he's actually scheduling an appointment. That's the call to action at the end of his webinar. He's telling them to hop on a call with either his sales team or himself, and then they're going to pitch them on the $6,000 to $8,000 program on the webinar. So I've always found the shorter to be the better if you're doing an automated webinar to an application call. So I did one that was about 45 minutes long, and that converted pretty well into strategy sessions. Now I didn't retarget with a VSL, which I don't mean to let the cat out of the bag. That's where I want to go next. You said you were doing VSLs and webinars, but let's go there now, because you had an interesting strategy that I wanted you to elaborate on. So how are you incorporating VSLs and webinars?
Totally. So like when we decide to run live webinars, which is, a couple, like 1 to 4 times a month, right? Depending on if we do them live or automated, or if we do them via live stream or via, like Webinar Jam or whatever. We purposely like a lot of times we use like our VSL for cold traffic, but we'll shut it down and focus all our energy on the webinar for cold traffic and some retargeted traffic. And then what we'll do is basically anybody who registered for the VSL, regardless of whether or not they attended, we retarget them to, register for the webinar. We will retarget them to our VSL afterwards. So they're two completely different trainings. They're not even similar, except for it's my voice and like my story in the beginning is the same. I mean, the entire training is new information. So it allows people who maybe went through the webinar or registered and didn't attend to have another point of contact with us through a VSL. And if there's somebody who's not going to show up on a webinar, like a VSL is probably better suited for them anyways. It's shorter, right? It's 15 minutes of their time versus an hour to an hour and a half, right? And even the people who did watch were still like, I think AJ might be a Nigerian prince and he's going to steal my money. Like it allows them to say, oh, wait a minute. No, he's real. Here's another thing, right? So it kind of reaffirms what they're doing. And that worked really well. I mean, we typically, when we do those days, and again, I just measure on the day because I want to undershoot it, we'll get like 25 plus strategy sessions just booked in on those days from both the webinar, and we track them, right? But from both the webinar and the VSL, and we get a lot of people who attended our webinar or registered and jumped off, and then they come watch our VSL later and they're like, yeah, I'm in. Let's do this. And our close rate is insanely high off of those people who, I don't know about insanely high, higher for us than normal. So, yeah.
So how long is your VSL normally?
Yeah, our VSL is, we have a couple for different markets. So like, there's lots of different sub industries within fitness. There's personal training, there's CrossFit, there's mixed martial arts, there's yoga. So our longest one is 30 minutes, just because we couldn't make it shorter. So it's barely even a VSL. It's more like just a short webinar at that point. But they're typically 15 minutes. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So just to recap kind of that strategy, which I think is phenomenal. So you're having people register for your webinar, and then after the webinar takes place, you retarget them with this VSL, which is giving them the call to action. So it doesn't even matter what happened, whether they attended, whether they didn't attend, everybody gets retargeted to this VSL after you do the webinar. And so they've got this call to action that's in front of them saying, okay, hey, listen, hop on a call with us. we want to help you scale your fitness business, and we're the people to help you do it. So that's amazing.
Yeah, no, that's what we did. And it was literally like an accident, like that we came across it. Like we're not that, we're okay, we're medium smart, but we're like, hey, let's just keep the VSL running towards retargeted traffic since, they're already there. And then we saw this crazy spike on the day we did the webinar. We're like, we got to do this all the time now. So, but yeah, man, thanks. I appreciate it.
What were your, if you don't mind sharing some numbers, how much would it normally take how much ad spend would you have to get for that? Let's say we're doing that webinar and VSL funnel, right?
Yeah.
How much would you have to spend to get an application? Like, what was your cost per application?
In the webinar or from the VSL? Because on the days that we obviously ran the webinar, from our VSL costs dropped drastically because so many of them were retargeted. So we would get, applications off our VSL, for as low as $30, depending on, which webinar it is. From the webinar, we generally would get applications for like 50 to 100. I mean, it really depends on the day of the week we chose and how well I did and if we had tech difficulties, but anywhere from 50 to 100 dollars per application. So pretty good. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. 50 to 100 bucks. I would take that all day, every day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we typically shoot for about $150 cost per application. Like when we're doing an automated webinar, I'll shoot for about $150. And if I'm above that, then I know I need to retweak something, and maybe it's my ads, maybe it's my messaging or whatever. But yeah, that's great, man. $30 an app. That's
for retargets, man. Those are so good. Like we get my ads manager looks like a freaking genius on those days because he's like, look at how cheap your cost per app is today, man. And yeah, no, totally.
And so how many of those would turn into sales? Like out of what would be the close percentage?
So that's an important question. So like when we typically run just cold VSL traffic, we'll get, our conversion off our VSL is like 10%, which is great. But we close maybe 1 in 4, and that's just lead in. That's including no-shows, which we're pretty satisfied with, right? 1 in 4 off cold traffic is great, right? So, but off of our webinar VSL combo, our close rate is generally 50% or higher.
For a $6,000 to $8,000 offer.
For a $6,000 to $8,000 offer, correct? Yeah, depending on who they are, what their fit is, if they sign up today or if they think about it for a month. I mean, if they think about it, we're just probably never going to talk to them again. But yeah.
So let me work out these numbers for you if you're listening right now. So let's be conservative. It's going to cost them $100 to generate an application. You said you closed 50% of them from the webinar, right?
From the webinar, yeah.
Yep. Okay. So $200. It was costing you $200 to get a $6,000 sale. So, right?
Yep. That is 100. That's correct. I mean, that's why we have lots of people, and we're probably gonna have more after this podcast ripping off our funnel. But whatever, the more the merrier.
yeah, that's awesome, man. So those are some stellar numbers. So really cool. All right, man. So let's close down this interview with talking about live streams. Live streams are very hot right now with webinars like Facebook Live, and Periscope was big about a year ago, and Facebook Live kind of crushed it. But so talk about what you're doing now with the live streams.
Dude, yeah, I love live streaming. It's just a secret obsession of mine. I think it's really awesome. I think deep down inside, my strengths test finder, my second most important thing is significance. So I think I just love being in front of a camera. But we decided to try live streaming a webinar because we got this whole fancy setup here. We had Luria Petrucci and David Foster from Live Streaming Pros come down and kind of set us up and kind of coach us through how to have like a legit setup where you could put graphics in and you can run webinars via live stream. So I was like, well, we have this stuff. It's going to cost us no money. Let's just try to run one and see what happens. So, we live stream almost every day during the week. We will interview different experts. I mean, we're going to have you on, right? We have a lot of different really smart people on to kind of share their knowledge, entrepreneurs, authors, consultants, coaches, everybody, right? Fitness professionals, obviously, and things like that. And so we're like, let's use this thing for a webinar and see how that converts. So we sent like maybe one email blast. We said, hey guys, we're going to do this live stream webinar in a couple of days. Register on a business page event right here. We didn't spend any money on this campaign at all. We just thought, worst case scenario, we can always download the video and use it as an auto webinar, right? So it'll be fine. And so we created an event. We had like 100 people interested in it, which meant, great, they're going to get these notifications. It kind of works as an automatic email responder, except it's even more immediate because it'll ding on their phone, where a lot of people, their emails, no, I know I personally don't have my phone ring every time an email comes in, because my wife would leave me. That would just be the end of it. So it would just be ringing all day. So, so we sent that out. We said, hey, register for the event here. And then, 10 minutes before the event, we set like a little countdown timer, and it was just me sitting here. It was literally right here in this space. I was like, hey, we're going to get started really soon. And I would slide like webinar is starting soon, please share. And we shared it into the event, shared it onto my personal page, shared it into my free group. And then I had random people share it too, which was awesome. I think we had 20 shares, which for me was very satisfactory considering we really didn't promo it that hard. And we had, I was expecting 100 people interested. I was like, okay, so 20 people are going to show up. It's going to be just like a normal webinar, like 20 people, 20%, 30% show rate, right? Okay, so 20 people will show up. But we had over 100 people on our live stream webinar show up. And, a lot of people were hot traffic from our list, or who follows our daily show or whatever. And so when they jumped on the phone, the close rates were just much higher. We booked in tons of applications. Just that day, we had closed over $20K in sales from the webinar. And that's not including calls we had the Friday or the Saturday after. So, and plus the audience that was built, right? So even the people who don't sign up are like, oh, I have a lot of trust with AJ now. So it was great. Yeah, I highly recommend people do it right now. And then we ran it as a boosted ad too for 24 hours to give people a chance to jump in afterwards, after we'd already made money on it and we knew it worked. But yeah, man, that was how it worked. It was pretty awesome. We're actually going to do one again this week. So I'll circle back with you and tell you how it goes.
That's awesome. So one of the things that I love about live streams and doing Facebook Live is, and I do believe that this is the future moving forward, it's incorporating now your webinars, which we all know sales presentations are so effective for numerous reasons, but now they become social and people can share it, just like you said was happening. You had 20 people share your event. So I would be interested to see, and I don't know if you get this with your Facebook Live, just because I haven't tested it all that much, but I'd be interested to see what your reach was of that presentation, that live stream, because with 20 people sharing it, that's virality. That's crazy. And now people see other people sharing it and they see people commenting, and the social proof is just, it's unbelievable. And so I'm going to be testing it coming up the next couple of weeks. I don't know how I'm going to be testing it, but I know that I need to do it because it's the future of sales presentations and webinars.
Yeah, it's crazy how I would agree with you. Knowing less about webinars, I would agree with you, because just our one case study test, right? And I can pull up these numbers here if you want and kind of check it out. I know opening Facebook
let's do it.
Skype is a risk, but we'll see if it works. Let's see here. Yeah, our reach here was 8,000, and that's not including views. Reach is usually less than views. Mm-hmm. So let me see what I got here. Make sure it's the right video. Yeah, our reach was 8,000 on that video, and our views were, let me check. And I still get people who comment. We pinned it, actually. And so I still get people who comment on that video. And basically, I'm going to probably tear it down today, but we basically get it on there. And we kind of did the same formula where we gave them a bonus for sticking around afterwards. Yeah, 4,000 views. So we had 4,000 views, and we had 7,000 people reach. And this was basically all organic.
Nice.
We threw, I think, $20 at it after the fact just to help it reach more people. But yeah, man, it works.
Unbelievable. So, AJ, that was awesome, man. There's so much that I learned from our conversation, our short 20-minute conversation, or however long we went today. But yeah, for people, if you're listening right now, there's a couple things that I want you to take away from this interview. First of all, figure out how to incorporate social with your presentations, because social proof is the single most important thing for a buying decision, for a conversion to happen. It's if if I think Chet Holmes was the guy who I read this in his book, The Ultimate Sales Machine, when he would start cold calling and he would call up a competitor, or he would call up a prospect and say, "Hey, would you like to buy this product? Just to let you know, your competitor on the street, I'm about to make the same offer to him." But he like basically just pits them against each other. And so this whole aspect of social proof is it's
awesome.
It's pretty genius. But anyway, social proof is so important when it comes to making a buying decision. So I love what you were doing with the Facebook live streams. And I also love what you're doing with retargeting with another method of conversion with your auto webinar. So anybody who is registering for a webinar, regardless if they attended or didn't attend, you set up a Facebook remarketing campaign and gave them a different piece of content to consume, and with the same call to action, which I think is brilliant as well, because a lot of people get hung up on saying, "Oh, well, how many different ways can I show them this one piece of content?" Whereas you took it and said, "How many different types of content can I give to this one person?" Which I think is the better question to ask, because people consume in many different ways, whether it's a podcast like audio, whether it's webinar, VSL, I mean, you name it. So I thought that was really brilliant. So awesome, man. Well, why don't you let us know, let my audience know where they can find you, where they can connect with you.
Dude, yeah, totally. If you want to check out my stuff, AJ-Rivera, like river in the letter A.com is like my website. If you visit that, you'll be retargeted as F. You can also go to my Facebook page, which is just facebook.com/AJ-Rivera-official. That's probably the best way to connect with me. I mean, we're on Facebook pretty often, and we have our live show on there as well. And it all links back to our website. So those are probably the two best ways to get in contact with me.
Awesome, dude. Well, I learned a ton today. I learned just a wealth of knowledge, and I know that my audience who's listening today learned a ton as well. So, AJ, thank you, man, for sharing your wisdom with my crew, and I'm looking forward to seeing your progress. I'm looking forward to seeing what else is happening with what you're doing with webinars in the future. So, we'll have a link to all of your contact information in the show notes down below. So if you're still listening right now, I want to thank you for listening to our episode today, and just give AJ a shout out, connect with him, and let him know that, you learned something from him, because he is, I believe he's changing the game with his live stream stuff. And so just pay attention to see what the trend's going on, and make sure that if you do see what's happening in a couple months down the road, make sure you pinpoint it to AJ, and he's the one who's leading the charge.
You're way too kind, but thank you so much, Joel. I appreciate you having me on here, man. It was a lot of fun. It's a great way to kind of start my day, because it's early here in California still, so I appreciate it, brother.
All right, so we'll wrap it up today with this episode, and we'll see you guys all on the next one. So thank you for listening to Sold Webinars, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to giving you the next one. You can also follow and watch the behind-the-scenes look at how I'm personally launching a brand new 6- and 7-figure product from scratch at soldwithwebinars.com/TV. And if you'd like to come hang out with other fellow experts, join our Facebook group at soldwithwebinars.com/experts. Join us next time, and I'll see you there.